Well, I did it. I finally melted cast iron with my foundry. It only took me 15 years to get around to it. Dang, why'd it take so long? Well, for a long time I didn't know what type of crucible I needed. When I got my clay graphite crucible for free at that trade show, they told me not to use it for cast iron because the carbon would dissolve into the metal, causing it to erode faster. So I was only going to use it for brass. And I did successfully melt brass a few times. But then there was the time that I forgot what thermal shock was, and being used to melting aluminum in my homemade steel crucibles which don't have that problem, I put the crucible in the furnace after it had been going for a while, as opposed to having it in during the preheat where everything would warm up together. And I immediately heard two loud popping sounds, where large chunks of the crucible broke off the top. Fortunately it was still functional after this, but at a lower capacity. Time went on and eventually I decided to heck with it, this crucible may as well be a total loss, so I'm gonna try melting cast iron in it. Besides, everybody else I see on the internet melting cast iron is using clay graphite crucibles anyway, so it's probably gonna work. Before we get into that, I want to talk about everything else that's been happening at the foundry, as there's been a lot of small accomplishments that just never merited their own video. For cast iron, skip ahead to the end. Now my foundry chronology is a bit of a nightmare to keep track of with so many overlapping projects, so I'll try to just present everything as it happened in sequential order, starting after the video of the molding press, the one where I accidentally melted magnesium. Later that year, I was testing a new mold that my brother asked me to make for casting Pelican tokens, and I also made a pattern for casting a new version of my turntable platter, which was going to be friction drive instead of belt drive. For the token mold, I thought having it water cooled would make the castings come out better, and it turned out the opposite was true, where actually preheating the mold had the best results. But it was still fun to rig up the mold with a cooling plate and have this barrel of water running through the heatsink. But yeah, the castings came out worse. And then the turntable platter pattern was just a disc of plywood that I hand turned on the wood lathe. This was a lot simpler design than the old platter that had this gigantic belt groove, which I messed up in pouring where the top was really thin, and I had to fill it in with Bondo to make it stable enough to turn on the lathe, only to cut the groove lopsided, resulting in the turntable speed not being constant. In fact, I remember demonstrating that in the turntable video.
Sailing on a bicycle, oh what a joy, my life is full of so much adventure, such a pleasure.
So previously I used this sweep pattern to make the original platter. Right there, from here in, is the cross section of the original platter. I needed to have that belt groove right here, and I messed up because I scraped a bunch of sand off the parting line and it leaked like crazy. This time I'm just going back to basics using a sand mold. This time I don't need the belt groove, so the pattern can be a lot more simple. By simple I mean I just made it an open face pattern, seeing as how those are the only ones I'm actually good at. You ready for machining, squashy? Now I don't remember which session I actually cast the platter in, but here I am removing it from the sand, just a nice thick disc of aluminum, and it has a stub on top for holding it in the lathe. In this session I began welding my new ingot tray for making big ingots, but one's just small enough to fit in the crucible. The goal of this was to use it for direct furnace melts, where prior to this I was using a singular big tray, and I'd end up with these massive slabs of aluminum that I would have to cut up on the bandsaw in order to fit in the crucible. And the design flaw here, I didn't realize it was too tall to fit under the furnace, but I think I later fixed this by chopping off all that extra metal above the trough line. At some point during the previous casting sessions, my first steel crucible busted a hole in the side of it, so I thought I'd cut it in half with the plasma cutter for fun, and to see the cross-section of the erosion damage, as I decided it was too far gone to repair by welding. I couldn't manage to cut all the way through the bottom because it was so much thicker than the rest of it, and because of all the slag that I'd built up inside the crucible. So in very dramatic fashion, I split it open with the help of a pry bar and a vise. So there it is, the shocking results of how this part right here eroded. This part right here is the extension I welded on some time ago, and it looks like the part directly below it got the worst erosion. Could be because my fill level was usually right around here, so directly above the aluminum would be most susceptible to oxidation. When I first made this one I had the lower part tapered. I don't know why I did that. Can fit more metal if you just leave it straight, It's a heck of a lot less work. Oh yeah, and this is when I was obsessed with my new rice cooker basket, and I was carrying around lots of rice everywhere. And then here I am cutting the pipe for the new crucible. This one would be the full height right out of the gate. And then cutting a circle for the base. Welding it all together. And I didn't bother making this one tapered, so it was just a straight cylinder. And then I welded these tabs on the side so it wouldn't slide through the pouring shank. Moving on to the next session, and oh, I narrated this one. Alright, in today's episode of Foundry Time, we try out the molding press, once again with the round stock mold. This time without the magnesium contamination. We're also going to try the Pelican mold, where we just dip the whole mold in the crucible. And speaking of crucible, it's the first run of the new crucible. And also, new ingot tray that gives ingots that fit in the crucible. So dipping the Pelican token mold into the molten aluminum sounds like a good idea in theory, but the finish just didn't come out good. This was also the first use of my new ladle, which here I'm actually forging a spout on in real time after holding it above the furnace to get red hot. And the new ladle worked out pretty good. I think this time the round stock mold got stuck, which is why there were only 1 or 2 batches of bars this time. And this probably inspired the later use of vegetable oil and mold release spray to open it easier. And yeah, you can see the tokens, they look really bubbly and weird. But the ingots came out good. After this was the next video, the record-setting molding session where I cast the most amount of bars in one day, facilitated by either coating the mold with vegetable oil or sandpapering the rust off of it beforehand. And this is where I also dialed in the practice of preheating the token mold. Those who attended Barzy's Summer Bash 2023 may have taken home some of this round stock, as I brought a bunch of it to give away as a promotional item. And later that year was the video where I finally got my hands on some mold release spray, and I built that workbench so I didn't have to keep bending over on the ground to use the molds. So you can go check it out in that video. After this was a bit of a foundry hiatus because I was having difficulty sourcing oil, but I eventually found a new restaurant to get it from. So here we are in 2025. I tried pouring another disc of that turntable platter, but the sand was really wet. And then my new crucible busted a hole in it. The foundry oil crisis has been averted. We got some oil, but now we have the crisis of green sand being left out in the rain, and rusty stuff that can rust being left out in the rain. I want to use that today. I got the mold moving again by spraying it with a bunch of WD-40. It was great to finally get some oil again, and this was some good stuff. Very light, with almost no debris in it. Though I think my filter screen might be due for a change, because it took a while to go down into the tank. What if I don't sandpaper the mold? Will it work better? Let's find out. Besides, that's what this stuff's for, right? After unplugging all the oil lines, it's time to fire it up. The satisfaction of melting long extrusions through the top of the furnace. It would appear the crucible is leaking. I don't like that. And I didn't do too many ladle pours this session because now that the crucible had a hole in it, every time I would dip the ladle in, a bunch of metal would leak out the side. I think I'm just learning that steel crucibles are not that good, especially for long casting sessions with ladle pouring where the crucible is in the furnace for an extended period of time. Or I'm just getting the furnace way too hot with no way to measure it. In spite of not sandpapering the mold, the bars came out super easy. And then I poured the disc into the wet sand and it started bubbling like crazy. Good thing it didn't explode like people have warned me would happen. That's probably why you don't use wet sand. And you know what? This wasn't any more difficult than if I had sanded the freaking thing, so that's a win in my book. That was the most wet sand I've ever poured in you do not want to pour in wet sand because the molten metal will react with the water, and this can happen, or worse. It's such a weird texture, it looks like lava. But yeah, that's probably not very useful. Probably just remelt it. That's all like hollow air pockets. And yeah, it turns out I didn't actually have to sandpaper the mold, but it did take off some little bits and pieces of rust maybe. I don't know why I couldn't get them to fill. Maybe because there's more flash now that my ladle's not big enough. That's all the metal that could have been poured that leaked out of the crucible. Guess I'll have to weld that thing. And now our feature presentation. I decided for my first iron melt, I would go with my trusty old fancy ingot pattern, inspired by the video game RuneScape. And melting cast iron was not much different than brass or aluminum actually, it just took longer. I basically just set the air and the oil as high as I was comfortable going, and it melted in about 20 or 30 minutes. The parts I melted were mostly from a broken drill press I found on the side of the street, as well as some pulleys. And of course this time I made sure to have the crucible in the furnace before preheating. For a while the chunks of scrap just stayed glowing red in the crucible, but eventually the surface started bubbling and melting into the bottom. And the slag layer on top was pretty thick, so it was more difficult to see when it had fully melted. But underneath was a shiny layer of liquid iron. When skimming the slag I had to do it quickly so my spoon wouldn't melt, since it's steel, and then I poured it. Unfortunately my main camera was malfunctioning so I didn't get good footage of that. But this bar of iron took literally hours to cool down, which I could have sped up if I dipped it in water. And then here's a gauge of how much oil I used. I think the full tank is about 11 or 13 gallons. And a little extra over here. Yes, those are chunks of brass in there that I didn't clean out. That's why you don't use the same crucible for different metals, but I did it anyways. Yeah, look at that. Wow, that sand got really toasted. There's the leftover, and then that star, I had chunks of it prepared to go in the crucible in case I needed more metal. I can finally say I've officially entered the Iron Age.